Hello everyone, my name is Rakesh Kuchana. Welcome to my channel. So in this video we will understand why string is immutable. This is very important and popular interview question for freshers and experienced people. So we know that string is immutable, but why string is immutable in Java? So this is the question nowadays interviewers are asking. Okay, so let's take one example. Let's say people are applying for some jobs, let's say some railway jobs. So they started filling application form, so online. Okay, so we have an application which is running in a server, so people started filling the application forms online. So let's say from Hyderabad people started entering the application form. Okay, so what kind of details we will have in that? We will have different kinds of details like name, first name, last name, date of birth, everything, and also some place also we will have. Let's say we will consider place. So place they are entering as Hyderabad. So when we start entering the details, what will happen? Those are stored in the memory, right? So those are stored in the memory. So let's say for place Hyderabad, if we consider, an object will be created in the memory, right? Hyderabad. So let's say another user came, so he also entered the application form with the same from the Hyderabad only. So he also entered Hyderabad. What will happen? What should happen ideally? So one more object should be created in the memory, right? So like that several users are coming and they have started filling the application forms from the Hyderabad only. So in that case what will happen? So many Hyderabad objects will be creating in memory. So let's say 1000 users are applying for the railway job. So what will happen? 1000 objects will be created in the memory. So but if you see that the content of the object is same, that is Hyderabad, right? So if we allow like this in the memory to enter the same value again and again, what will happen? It will fill up the memory at some point of time and it will utilize more memory, right? So it is not a good idea, right? So because if it is like this, then our memory will not be sufficient. Maybe it will be sufficient, we have to increase the memory, and still this thousands of users, lakhs of users throughout the world, if they apply for the jobs, then our memory will not be sufficient, right? So that's why Java people came up with an approach like, what if we reuse the same object for all these users? We can reuse, right? Because the same object only they are using, the same object, the same content only they are entering. So instead of creating one more object with the same content, we can reuse the same object, right? So that's what they thought initially. So for that what they did is they created, let's say normally objects are created in heap, right? We know that. Okay, in the heap they came up with a special memory area. They partitioned into a small memory area, again one memory area in which is part of heap, that is SCP. They named it as SCP, that is string constant pool. String constant pool, as the name suggests, so it will contain all the strings and it is a pool of strings, so they can be utilized. Okay, so let's say in our approach, for example, if the first user entered Hyderabad, so an Hyderabad object will be created in the SCP, that is a string object. Let's say what we'll do in Java, normally we generally assign the object addresses to the reference variables, right? So here S1 is pointing, let's say S1. Okay, for the first user S1 is pointing to the Hyderabad. For the second user, again he came up, again he entered Hyderabad. What will happen? We will create another other instance of some class object where again we will have some string with S2, let's say some other reference variable S2, which will be pointing to the same Hyderabad object. So instead of creating one more object, we are returning the address of that object to store it in the reference variable, let's say. So S2 also will be pointing to the same Hyderabad. So now for both users, if they enter Hyderabad, the same Hyderabad object is being used for both the users, right? So next some third person came, he also utilizes the same Hyderabad object. As for S4 also same Hyderabad, S5 also same Hyderabad object, same S6 also same string object. So this is good, right? We started reusing the object. it's a great idea, right? So now no need of creating multiple objects, right? Here it is saving some time also, right? Because object creation is costly, and even memory is also costly. So we are saving time in terms of we are saving time. That means it increases the performance, and also it reduces the memory usage. So it's a very good approach, right? Because string is the most commonly used object in Java, so this approach is fine. But what, for example, tomorrow this is fine for reusability, but what if, let's say, S4 came? So for S4, while applying for the job, initially what he did is, instead of first he entered Hyderabad. Okay, then Hyderabad, S4 is pointing to Hyderabad. Then he changed his mind, and now he wants to change his place to some Mumbai. So if he allows, how we change, right? Using this reference variable only, we will change the content of the object. So let's say if we try to change the content of this through this S4 Hyderabad to some Mumbai, what will happen? It will impact all the other reference variables, right? S1, S2, S3, S5, S6 will also get impacted. Oh, this is not good, right? Only because of S4, if you change all the other reference variables, all the other users will get affected. They ideally enter Hyderabad, but in database what will happen? Mumbai will be stored, which is wrong, right? So that's why again they thought, okay, reusing is fine, but changing the content through these variables is not good. So what they thought is, instead of, if we try to change this object through this S4, then instead of changing this existing object, let's create a new object, and that object reference we will store in S4. That's how they thought. So what they thought, instead of changing the content of this existing object, so they will create one more object. That means Java will create one more object, and this Mumbai reference will be stored in the S4. Very good, right? Now all the other variables remain intact, they are not changed, right? Only S4 got changed now, but S4 is pointing to whole new object. So here if you observe, the string object got created newly, but it's not modified. So this is called immutability. What is immutability? If you try to change the object, it cannot be changed. Rather than changing the existing object, it will create a new object for us. So this is called immutability, right? So that is why the Java people made string object has immutable object. We cannot, once it is created, it is final, we cannot modify it. So this is the idea behind making string as immutable in Java. So this is how we need to answer. So now let's see in short how we can answer. If someone asks you why string is immutable, then simply we can answer. First point, we can say, hey, string is the most commonly used object in Java. So Java team thought of reusing it by placing it in separate memory area called SCP, which is part of heap. If the string object is reused, that is, if many reference variable point to the same object, then changing the object through one of the reference variable will impact all the other reference variables, right, which are pointing to the same object. So that is why string object was made immutable, so that we cannot change the string object, and if we try to change it, a new object will be created with that change, and the only reference variable through which we tried to change will be pointing to the new object, and all the other reference variables will be pointing to the same old object. So this is the beauty of why string object was made immutable, because of reusability. They want to reuse the string object, so that's why they made it as immutable. So this is how, if you answer, definitely interviewer will be impressed. So this is enough to answer. In my experience, almost three times, 3 interviews, I faced this question. I answered like this only. There is no extra question from the interviewer. He accepted this answer. Okay, all the best. If you like this video, please subscribe, comment and share. All the best for your interviews. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.